Welcome to Living La Vita Local Podcast, a retro gaming podcast for some of your retro gaming needs. My name is Faz.
And I'm Rich.
And this is episode 151, which has been recorded before episode 150. Some timey-wimey bullshit going on.
Just to really confuse things.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it's just me and my organisation of life. And I'm just like, yeah, let's just do it this way. I don't know why that made any sense to my brain, but here we are. So yeah, we're having sweets. I haven't had sweets for like 6 weeks, so that might, sort of speak to why my brain's a bit insane right now.
It's going to be a wild ride.
Yeah. So this will be after, like say, episode 150, which I expect to be quite long, if I'm going to be honest. So we'll soon see. We'll find out. We'll find out last week. But so this one is a nice, gentle to break us into the next sort of cycle 150, next 50. If hopefully we get there. This is a nice, gentle free play fortnightly that hasn't been done for about 14 weeks or something like that. I don't think there's no fortnightly to it.
It's been a while.
Yeah. So because we had end of year stuff, good old fashioned audit. Then we had that Drive January and into Drive February, and then we had Winter Olympics. Episode 150. So yeah, it's been a little while since since Rich has been allowed to play whatever he wants.
I could do fun things.
Whereas the rest of it is just armbarred onto him. So yeah. Oh, I'm really sorry that the rest of them aren't fun.
I used to play video games for fun.
Yeah, no.
Not anymore. No, not so much.
The hobby is the grind to me.
Is it? Is it? Can it not be?
It could be whatever you want it to be. No, it's not.
Oh.
There has to be some sort.
You'd say that.
There has to be some sort of organisation and order. But I am
God.
The Empire was good for people.
Oh.
I meant, well, I didn't mean the British Empire. I just want that.
Just stop. Just how many sweets have you had? Like three Haribo, and you're like this.
The Imperial Empire. Wait, that's the same thing. Anyway, I am intrigued to see what you have played, or what you're going to put forward as your first free play that you're allowed to of the year.
Yep.
So just to remind people that maybe haven't listened to the podcast before, or even have listened and don't get the rule that where we.
I get that.
Yeah.
I get hazy myself sometimes.
Yeah. Where we each review a game and then we bring the review to the table. We say review into the ether, and then our counterpart then tries to score a review and tries to pretty much guess what they think the score is meant to be based on the review words. That was mostly English.
Sure.
Have at it. Why didn't you go first? I'm going to stop talking.
Right.
Jesus.
Okay. I am going to, at this lovely gaming buffet, slap in front of you, Bullseye from 2021 on the PS4.
Okay, what is that? I don't even know it.
You know, Bullseye, the Saturday evening light entertainment darts-based game show.
I do know Bullseye.
That's Bullseye.
A
bit of bully. Yeah, it's Bullseye.
So, I used to play a lot of Bullseye on the pub quiz machines. That is in sort of when I was old enough, like maybe even when I wasn't old enough, sort of 16, 17, 18 years old in the pub, because it felt like the one that I could maybe win on a bit more than than the algorithm would let me win on other ones.
I get that.
So yeah, I used to enjoy playing Bullseye, but for gambling reasons. How is it on the PS4 from 2021?
Fucking shite. I don't like to just outright disregard other people's attempts at putting together a video game, especially one with a license as beloved as Bullseye. We'll assume, but my days.
Yeah. So, is this made by
people?
Anybody? Is it made by AI? Is it made by human beings?
I honestly could not tell you.
Did you have to buy this with money?
I did. I bought it with real money. So it was £2.50 in the sale, down from £11 something.
No one's paid £12 to play Bullseye in 2021.
They seem to think that someone was. My giddy aunt. Right. So cast your mind back to when we were talking about Chef's Love Shack.
Okay. Yeah.
This is your benchmark.
Yeah.
this is worse than Chef's Love Shack. It has exactly the same problem of if you're playing it on your own, you are completely on your own.
Yeah.
They have the various rounds that you did in Bullseye. So, you fling a dart at a board, answer a question, basically 3 times in different configurations of where you throw a dart versus what type of questions you get and what kind of points you build up, right? The darts is the actual throwing of the darts is probably the most entertaining bit. There's no like crosshair or anything like that. Okay. You can kind of select your sort of whether or not you're aiming left or right, up or down, and you can kind of rotate the dart a little bit, like a kind of pitch and yaw kind of.
So there's a bit more to it than the pub quiz game that I play.
Yeah, like you are actually throwing the darts, and then you're answering the questions and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
that's it. That's the game. That is the game. There are no options.
There's just no option menu.
There are no
options. Wow. Okay.
When you get into the game, you have start and help, which you will need the help. And yeah, like I mean, it's not Jim Bowen doing the presenting the commentary.
Yeah,
no, none of that.
He must have passed away by that point. Maybe.
I think it was. I checked. It was something like 2018 or something like that. Yeah. Like weirdly closer than you'd think.
Yeah.
All things considered, but. Because, I mean, Bullseye was what? 80s into 90s? 90s into noughties? Like,
Bullseye was a weird one for me because certainly I think it's one of those things that I probably know more about Bullseye through Peter Kay, for example, and stand-up routines of those ilks than I do
actually watching it.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen quite a lot of clips of Bullseye, but I'm probably more of a Big Break person. I think maybe, which that would have been so the Generation Game would that have been on before or after Bullseye, maybe an ITV or something around about that time.
So Generation Game would have been I want to say your BBC, whereas
that BBC,
whereas
was it?
This I think was ITV or something like that.
Yeah,
it's that kind of difference. But yeah, like Bullseye, the game show was pretty good fun. Like, my like overriding memory of it is the prizes at the end, where it'd be like. A kitchen or like a 90s micra or something like that, something that in theory is good, but at the same time you look at it and you're like, I'm pretty sure the budget for this was a bit iffy even for back in the day. And if I remember rightly, and it's a big if, and I didn't check this because I like the memory of it if I've made it up, which makes no sense, but you would have different sections on the board and different prizes to go with it, and you could get like a shitty, I don't know, canteen set or like a set of plates. Yeah. Or you could get a speedboat.
Yeah, speedboat.
And, it was all that kind of like the jeopardy of all that. Like, what am I actually going to walk away from? None of that's here.
Yeah.
None of it. There's nothing about prizes.
That's
There's
the best
nothing
part.
About,
the stupid inane shit.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, you could get a tumble dryer or not. Like, there's none of that. It doesn't save you high scores. It doesn't give you any options. There's like the open goal, right, for a darts-based game show is to give you options for either just doing some questions or just fucking playing darts. You've got the mechanics there.
Yeah.
You can keep track of points, even if it's only within that one game. Like, let you do that.
Yeah. That doesn't make any sense, really, does it? Because it's almost like in this day and age, you think if you're going to bring something back that has been a video game on that I've blasted past it on like the Switch shop and things like that. And I've seen it. I'm sure there's been like maybe there hasn't. I'm sure there's been like a previous iteration that hasn't been on a pub quiz machine. I mean, we've got a physical version at home, which is kind of like you get a little mini dartboard to play with, and it's like quintessentially it's the skill based. And then the question-based, quiz show. And if you, it must be so easy to make the question-based quiz show video game nowadays. That is if you think about Chef's Love Shack, for example, like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, Buzz, like this, they're so easy to make. Whereas you could have made something quite good of the skill-based part of it.
Absolutely.
That could have been a video game.
Well, you can get darts games.
Yeah.
You can get quiz games. Oh my god!
Yeah.
Why don't we combine them? Like it just feels like, I know I said this about Duke Nukem. I'm starting to be fucking serious about Bullseye. I might just try and buy the fucking license. Yeah. like how hard can it be?
Yeah.
I genuinely
this feels like this probably feels a bit more like we could do
side quest material.
We could actually do
actually buy the license for Bullseye and do it right.
Pico ate the shit out of Bullseye.
But like, it just feels like there are so many like fundamental video game opportunities that could have been here that are just like they're wanting.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, I know we've said before now about, you know, the trappings, the kind of looks and sounds that go with the game. It's there. I mean, you don't have Bully occasionally popping up out the corner of the screen going and all that, like, which would have been nice.
Yeah.
But you know, the little twinkly piano kind of background music, that's all there.
Yeah.
But like the commentary is lifeless. It cuts off weirdly. Like there's one point where it's drowned out by applause, but also like it sounds like the line was literally cut when they were about to say or something else. and I do genuinely wonder, especially if it was 2021, I wonder if they were going to do some more like at the back end of the game with the prizes and stuff like that. You know, are you going to gamble or are you not kind of stuff, and just didn't and couldn't maybe. But yeah, like there was so many questions like that.
There'd be so no, sorry.
No, I was going to say that brings me to the key point I was going to make. So if you've got something else, like now's your time.
It was just that I was thinking, like, you know, and I know this would have been prior to the release of Thank Goodness You're Here, but to have something like, you know, the quintessential laugh at the Britishness and the ridiculous notion of playing darts for, you know, all that stuff that made Bullseye funny for us. That is, you could have had that comedy in there baked in, and again, people would go, "Oh yeah, you know," and I just don't understand because like this feels so lifeless that it's like, "Oh, Grandad, do you want to play Bullseye on Christmas Day on the TV?" "Oh, go on then, yeah, why not?" You know, with a pint of mild, and he'll be like, "This is shit. You've ruined everything."
No life to it whatsoever. Like it is a corpse of a game. And so I was ready to sit here and be like, you know what, like. If you're being charitable, the actual throwing of the darts is kind of solid. Like it feels like it's forcing your hand a couple of times. So like there'll be one point early on where you can get bullseyes, like you just line it up, off you go. You don't even have to think about it. You just put the dart in exactly the same place, throw it exactly the same way. Bob's your uncle, and then that sweet spot moves, and it suddenly feels like you're hitting the threes and all that kind of stuff. So you can kind of see the man behind the curtain a little bit too much for that sort of stuff. But I was about to sit here and be like, but it's not broken. However, it's broken. It is broken. So
it was born broken.
I did 2 runs on my own, which bear in mind no other contestants, completely on my own, and got 4 out of 6 trophies. Played it once through with my wife because she was like, "Oh, tag me in, it might be more fun." And in 30 seconds was like, "This is not more fun." But we unlocked the other 2 trophies. Okay. So I've 100%ed Bullseye.
Wow. So do you get a platinum for that?
I wish. I'm pretty sure if they had a platinum, I'm pretty sure it would have had more sales. And that's not ironic. No. I genuinely think it would have helped. But one of the questions was formatted wrong. And you're like, you've got literally one job, right? And so like the end of the question cut off and was missing like a word or 2. And so you had 3 obviously incorrect answers, and then one of the answers was the other half of the sentence, where they clearly just put it on the wrong line. And like, you would have been able to read it and gone, that's the rest of that sentence. But what didn't help was because it involved a song title that had brackets in it, it was even more obvious because the punctuation was really highlighting that it was the other half of the thing. And there's probably where your problems popped up in the code, because there's, you know, parentheses and all this kind of stuff. It's, you know,
what's that asterisk do there? Oh no.
Yeah, I don't know much, but I know enough to know that if your punctuation's squiffy in code, then, you know, something like that's going to happen. So yeah, like not great at all. To the extent that like Chef's Love Shack, yes, it had problems. Yes, it was, we'll call it lonely. But like, on some level it tried. Like it was trying to do justice to the property. This just feels like it can't or won't.
Yeah, but Chef's Love Shack had mini games and it
you could go play them separate
and
stuff,
it felt like you were playing South Park. Like,
there was something there. Like it flubbed it, of course it did, but like there was something there. There is nothing here. There is no hint of love of Bullseye, and I wasn't even that big of a fan of Bullseye. I think I'm more of a fan of Bullseye now, where I've just played that and gone like, this is a travesty. This is an injustice. Like we need to save Bullseye in video game form now. So yeah, like it's not good. Oh, in fact, that was another broken bit I've just spotted in my notes as well. The When you're playing in multiplayer, you're passing the controller,
Yeah.
right? And they say next player, please, and all that kind of stuff. But the timer starts as the sound clip starts. So if you're not paying attention, you're already like 5 seconds into a 2-minute stint for something.
Wow.
So the second player is going to be at a disadvantage unless you're really paying attention, and all things like that, where it just feels wonky.
Yeah.
You know. And yeah, the whole thing is ponderous. But, however, the range of questions, pretty fun.
Okay.
All right, like
Yeah.
there's plenty of celebrity ones that I could not have got the answer to in a month of Sundays. But my favourite question: what shape is a baguette?
What shape is it?
You know, long and thin.
Yeah. Oh,
Long
right.
and thin.
Okay. So I was going to
Not
say
like
oblong.
round.
I was going to say
no, long and
that.
thin. So yeah, like that. Yeah, it's barely registering a pulse. Is I think what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and if I paid 12 quid for it, I would be.
There's surely no way.
Livid.
So when you say it's PS4, I assume I'd love if this had a physical release, but
I honestly do not know.
I highly doubt that it did, because
I kind of assume it didn't.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, it was the PS4 version that I was playing on my wife's PS5, which feels even more ridiculous. But yeah.
Not to labour on, I mean, because we've managed 15 minutes on a terrible Bullseye game already. Like, I genuinely feel for my past self right now, like as in me playing when I was like 17 years old in a nightclub, playing on the pub quiz machine, playing Bullseye, having a good time. And now that feels like it's kind of been taken away from me a little bit. Like,
it probably should. It probably should. Like, this is easily one of the worst games I've played.
Yeah.
And like, sure, you could say, but it's not like broken though, is it? And I think like, yeah, between
it's still a quiz.
Yeah, like you had literally one job, and that was put the question in the question box, and you've still managed to get that wrong. And the rest of it just feels so underbaked.
Yeah.
It may as well be broken. It would be more entertaining.
Yeah.
Chef's Love Shack, if I remember rightly, got 2 out of 10.
It did, and then you bumped that up to a 4. Which,
yeah,
fair enough. That was your mulligan.
And I think this is any which way you score it worse than Chef's Love Shack.
Yeah. Fair enough. I mean, I was almost going towards 0, but then you said that some of the questions were at least okay. That is in, so a 1 was kind of like where I was heading with.
I think 1 was basically where I was going, like, you know, it is Carmageddon 64 levels of dreck.
Yeah. So my question then to you is, so that's your first free play that you wanted to present on the podcast this year.
Yep.
You see why there's rules, Rich? You see why there's rules and barriers?
And the problem was...
You're here to break those rules and barriers.
So I got to 3 o'clock Sunday, was like, I don't have anything. I haven't played anything. I've been playing other things.
Yeah.
Shit. What do I... Okay, I've got to spare £2.50 on store credit.
No, fair enough.
Let's go.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, it gave me plenty of material to mine.
Yeah. I did that the other week with something I want to bring up with a free play in a few weeks' time. And and it was a similar vein, but I had no prior knowledge of what the game was going to be. And it turned out to be one of the best games that I've played in a long time. Like, and I was like, so I'm excited to share that. But it, you know, and it was like 2 hours long, and it's just like, you know, so when you have, you know, very limited time for gaming, like sometimes you pick something up and it works, and sometimes it does not.
This did not work.
Something that did work and has worked twice now, on 3 occasions, is the Spyro
twice now on 3 occasions.
Spyro the Dragon, the Reignited Trilogy. Is what is the video games that I'm bringing to the table.
Right.
Definitely better than Bullseye.
Most things are.
Yeah. So what was my previous relationship with Spyro? I'd only played Spyro 1 like all the way through, and Spyro 2 about half of the way through, like on rental, I think it was at the time. So my Game Pass was run out, and it was still on Game Pass. I thought, right, what am I going to play in January on Game Pass that I can play before it runs out, and that I really want to try out. Right, okay, I'm going to do Spyro because I've never played the whole Spyro 2, and I've never played Spyro 3. And I've seen people be really positive and effusive about this as a remaster, remake. I think. Oh God! Every time I think this is a remake.
One of the remakes.
Yeah, I think it's a remake. This one. So I thought, yeah, no, let's do it. And I've been playing. And this isn't going to be a free play, so it's not hidden from anybody or anything. But we're playing Spider-Man games, and I started playing Spider-Man on the PS4, PS5 remastered version. And that's by Insomniac Games. And this was kind of one of the first things that Insomniac Games did.
Oh, yeah.
Which is interesting, because I looked at their back catalogue, and Spyro, the Ratchet and Clank series, of which there are many, the Resistance series, which we touched upon before and I loved when I had PlayStation 3, and then Spider-Man. It's really funny that it took until the first Spider-Man game back in 2018 before Sony actually then bought Insomniac Games, even though they've been pumping out basically first-party games for the PlayStation for over 20 years, and it was almost like, oh yeah, we should really put a ring on that. Like, just so well done them for eventually doing that. And but yeah, so I thought, all right, okay, well, I'm playing an Insomniac game at the moment, and these guys, this has been redone by Toys for Bob, who. What was I reading about the other day? I think it might be something on the previous podcast, maybe something that Toys for Bob did. And it sounds like a really strange developer's name. It sounds like somebody I wouldn't trust. But actually, when you look at what they've done sort of previously, and actually what they did with this, they worked on Skylanders, and they what they do, Crash. They've done Crash 4 about time since the Crash Insane trilogy was redone as well. So it made sense that I think that they tackled Spyro after Crash Insane came back with such fanfare. And I think, again, everyone seems to have welcomed that quite well, in having Crash Bandicoot back in your life, and with a nice sort of polish. So I was interested to see even what this was like. Have you played much Spyro?
My sister had it back in the day. Dabbled a little bit. I've got them floating around on my Vita somewhere. But yeah, not really. It was spent quality time with them.
Yeah, it was interesting to see it being an Xbox sort of version of the game, because previously I always thought of it as a PlayStation franchise.
Yeah.
But there's quite a lot of Spyro games from the mid-noughties on the DS, actually, which is really interesting. And I've never played them. But it's just interesting to see that it's been around PlayStation, Nintendo, and Xbox now.
Yeah.
Those first 3 games on the PlayStation, then, they were all top 50 selling PS1 games.
Right.
Which I think is pretty impressive, because they came out quite late in the lifespan of the PlayStation 1. Certainly 98, 99, 2000 for the third game. So considering that was like, I know game generations, well, not console generations, tend to blur a bit more, certainly around PS1, PS2, for example, and N64 into GameCube and stuff. But to see what if you have a look at the first game was 18th best selling, the second game 26th best selling, and the third game 28th best selling PlayStation 1 game of all time. So critically quite well regarded, and also made a lot of money. Yeah. What about these ones then? So there's updated graphics. There is an extended and I guess reworked musical score, but that works on the originals. The gameplay is quite faithful. Like, a lot of the mechanics that you play Spyro with are pretty faithful. None of that really changes, to be honest. Apparently there was quite some initial issues with frame rates and glitches and things, but I didn't experience any of that when I came to it after. I mean, this came out, I think, was it 2021 maybe? I can't remember now, but this, basically, it's been quite a few years, 4 or 5 years since this came back out. So, so I didn't really miss a beat going back to it, going back and remembering what Spyro was like.
Yeah.
There are, certainly for me personally, I think there's a massive difference between the three games in terms of how I felt about them and also what I remember.
Right.
I remember Spyro quite fondly, certainly the first game. And I think I was one of them in my friendship group, one of the people that actually owned Spyro. So, and I was quite proud of that, I think.
Mhm.
And I remember I completed it, I think, twice, maybe. Do you know what I mean? So I played it enough.
Yeah, yeah.
But that was also a period of time where you didn't own that many games. So I was speaking to someone on Instagram today just about remembering that having some electronic boutique stackers on my desk in my bedroom. What was it? Did you have 10 PS1 games in it?
Or thereabouts,
yeah.
yeah.
And I remember really, really proud of them. That was like that was probably my best collection I've ever had, and how it looked, perfect, really. So yeah, it was a good time. So it does. The first game, the actual experience of playing the gameplay is pretty good. That is in, so they've added in things as well, which made it even better. So they've added some quality of life stuff that actually comes for later on in the series. So
Right.
there's what's it called? Like a guidebook, I think it is, where basically it tells you later on. I think it's in the second game, and the third game, that it tells you how many things you've collected and where you've collected them. That initially
Right.
didn't exist in the first game. It does in this version, and that really makes a difference.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, effectively, it's just kind of a collectathon, if I'm going to be honest, like the first game. So, and well, they all are really. In this version, in the first game, you're collecting dragons. They're the main thing that you need to collect. You also need to collect eggs as well, and a number of gems. And you, at certain points, you travel to different worlds, and you go along with a balloonist who, I'm going to be honest, I'm a bit suspicious of this balloonist. He's very much like hood up, looks shifty as fuck. Like, where are you taking me on this balloon? Like, isn't that Spyro as a young pup? I'm a bit worried about him when he gets with this balloonist, but he takes you to different places and seems legit, I guess. But then at different points, you have to have gained certain number of dragons, number of eggs, which have been stolen again by these shifty, weird-looking thieves. That I think they're just called thieves. That isn't, who've just got their heads up again, and gems, which are just kind of like lying around the world effectively, and you can destroy different things. So anybody that hasn't played Spyro before, you can basically blast flames. You can glide. You can jump, and you can headbutt things at pace, pretty much.
You can do dragon shit.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, as you would imagine what dragon would do. So those are the kind of things that you get up to, and that's kind of it, really. It's a very simple platformer, which is easy for me to say now. Back in 1998, you wouldn't have had many things, I don't think, that on the PlayStation, certainly, that would have been a true, I mean, it's not an open world, but an open world-ish, or these little sort of hub worlds, 3D platformers. Like, as in, they didn't really necessarily exist as much as, say, in the PlayStation 2, and from that point onwards, that is, in, it became the norm. Whereas PlayStation 1 and N64, your Banjo Kazooies, your Mario 64s, even Crash Bandicoot. You think about how well loved that is on the PlayStation. That is still a 3D linear adventure. So Spyro does a job. It shows that that can be done. In terms of the charm and love for this game, it really grated on me, this one. That is in, and I will come to Ripto's Rage, which is number 2, and Year of the Dragon, which is number 3, in a little while, and I already say that they are better than this one. Mechanically, there's nothing necessarily wrong. It was just the enemy variety was really weak. That isn't. It was weak, way weaker than I remember it. There was barely any challenge to it, if I'm going to be honest. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've seen recently people who have been platinuming platting this trilogy. I really commend them. Not necessarily for the challenge, certainly in the first game, more so for sticking with the monotony of the same thing over and over and over, just collecting things and seeing the same enemies all the time, or trying to jump or glide over the same kind of gaps all the time. Like, it just kind of reskins at every hub world. It doesn't seem to necessarily increase in challenge.
Right.
Until you get to Nasty Nork, who's the enemy of the game, who's been stealing all these dragons, or make them into stone, and stealing eggs and things. Bit of a weird name. You get to him as a boss, and there's like suddenly a massive difficulty spike. Not necessarily because of the way that he acts, just more that it's like a 3 checkpoint sort of act, but there's no checkpoints to the action where there would now be checkpoints in today's world, because you go, I've completed this section of this boss battle that is in. It will let me, camp here at my campfire. Apart from your hardest games, you would normally expect to see checkpoints here. That isn't there, and that hasn't been put into this game either. I would have thought maybe they would have thought about that a bit more, but I guess if they were being really true to the gameplay, fair enough. But that all said, to get to that point, it just isn't difficult at all, really. And yeah, like I say, I played this for 4 hours and complete the story, and then there is like some extra bits you can do at the end where you can unlock more things. And I was so not going to do that. I was like, there is nothing about this that makes me feel like I want to stay in this world. That is not to say that it's grim or not a good enough game. But for me nowadays, this is a bang average game, like the first one. It's kind of like certainly good enough, but like I wouldn't go any higher than that, in terms of how I feel about it. So we'll do a score for the whole thing, I think.
Okay.
Well, how do you feel about it? Do you think we should score each game?
Yeah. No. I mean, like you buy them as a set now.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly.
So,
So it is a trilogy. Yeah. So, I think that this would have been a perfect opportunity for this game to have a story polish or something added in to be able to make it a bit more exciting.
A little bit of a bridge episode between 1 and 2 or something like that.
That almost like a little DLC sort of thing, and just add something to the story. I mean, little things like, I would say, if you think about Super Mario, for example, you get hit once and you die if you don't have any power-ups. You get hit, if you power up, you get hit twice, you die. Whereas here, I think you can have like 4 or 5 different times where your little dragonfly, which is your life force hovering around behind you, you basically, it's called Sparks. I don't know why it's come back to me. Yeah, Sparks.
I think so.
And so you get quite a few bites of the apple, and even if Sparks disappears to the point where he's like, he's on his last life, there are lots of these lovely little animals kicking about, which it's absolutely fine for Spyro to be like, menacing all these little fucking sheep that are just like, trying to get by, and he's like, oh, I need to rescue all these dragons, I'll just flame all these sheep and then I get my life source back, maniacal bastard. So yeah, and I think the charm is lost on this. People that I remember at the time sort of thinking, oh, it's like kind of like the dragons are all, like very lovely, and sort of you get this, I don't want to say regal necessarily, but almost like, that they'll say things that like you would expect out of a really lovely, whimsy RPG sort of, world, if you will, like the Shire in, Lord of the Rings. And everything they say is just fucking inane. Like, it's just like, oh, Spyro, jump over that gap over there, and you're like, I've already been over there. Like, because it is the hub world situation, and you can rotate around in any which way you want. Like, the advice you get given over on the 4th or 5th level actually might have been advice you could have used on the 1st level, but you've done the 4th or 5th level first. It didn't really correspond to, and to have to put up with that when you collect, I can't remember dragons it is, but say 30 dragons, when you collect them all, and they're all just spouting crap, like, as in, just like, but in a lovely British accent. It's just like, I was like, oh, piss off. I was just like, I wanted more. I really wanted more out of this. And to go back to it, this is one of these things where we have this conversation sometimes where we say, actually, would a remake, would it have been better if something had changed in this and actually added to it? And that would have been one that I think that certainly, maybe not as a whole package, because as you'll hear when I go through these ones, I think that one, maybe you could have sort of said, here's 1.5, like they do with Kingdom Hearts, for example. So the second game, Ripto's Rage, not much necessarily changes in this in terms of what you do. It's still a collectathon. You're still going through, except you're not collecting dragons this time. You collect gems and orbs and talismans, which sounds very much the same as what you do in the first game, but you would have to actively seek out the dragons in the levels and the hub worlds, whereas in this one, the talisman is just for getting to the end of a level.
Right.
I would say that each of the levels are a bit more sprawling. There are more secret areas and more little mini games inside the actual level themselves to provide a bit more variety than was there in the first game, which is good.
Mm.
It seems a bit odd, really. You need in the same vein as the first game to get to Ripto, who is the bad guy in this, who I don't even know what the fuck he is. That is, he's just like a little mangled thing. I don't really know. Like, is he a turtle? Is he just an angry entity? And I don't know what Ripto is. Kind of like, is he like a weird dragon wizard thing? Fuck knows. Honestly, that is in. But he's angry, as the title suggests, Ripto's Rage, and. To get into his castle at the end, you can blast through the game, but then you need I think it's like 40 orbs to get inside his castle. And I'm like, so I got to the point where actually I didn't even finish this game. I got to the point where I got to his, and I was like, I don't want to have to go back and find all the orbs, but just to finish this game off. I was a bit like, it wasn't enjoyable enough for me to kind of finish that off and kind of do all the little bits.
Especially if you can fly anyway.
Well, yeah.
Go over a wall.
Well, I mean, the thing is, like, it's in all the stuff that Spyro does in this one. So you get, like, he does like 2 or 3 different things at least. So the gameplay is similar, but you have more added abilities. So you've got like a hover method, and you can swim underwater, and there is like a special head bash as well. So there are things that are available to you to make it more exciting, but it's not necessarily something that is like an amazing step on. But it's definitely enough to kind of tip this into a better game than what the first one was.
Got you.
So it's just not average, but it's above that.
Yeah.
There is one point in this where I described it as everybody does nowadays, almost like Dark Souls-esque, where there is a battle against one of the sub-bosses called Gulp. Excuse me, gulping that. And my word, it took me about 35 goes to beat Gulp. And to go from this, again, this not really necessarily challenging game, whereas apart from getting some of the orbs you have to do on some of the mini games are quite difficult, to get to the point where you're battling against this person, no, and what is he, dinosaur, I think, anyway, that is in whatever he is, yeah, and just be so much fucking harder than what it was previously is wild. I don't really understand how you get that this one massive difficulty spike. And I read into it, and it's like, oh, even the boss isn't, like, even the end boss isn't this hard, like, isn't. And then I found there was loads of people who were just like, have you even played Gulp before? Because it's so hard. And I was just like, wow, these like experienced gamers that are just like throwing controls at screens and stuff, because this boss just. And it's because he kind of follows you around the screen because you're limited to what you can do as Spyro. It's almost like he kind of like isn't rotating. He can just rotate around and do whatever he wants and like homing missiles you. It's just a bit wild, basically.
Right.
So it definitely was more interesting than the first one. It's still a bit do this to open this next gate.
Right.
But the characters were a bit more fleshed out. I was a bit more invested in the story. But it still wasn't a massive step onto this game that I remember it being either. Right. Year of the Dragon. This is definitely the quintessential Spyro game. That is, and so I never played this, but this is really good. That is, and you can see how they've made that final step on. And I would say that this possibly, I don't know, I'll have to look into this rather than just I'll just say it out loud. I think this is probably the best 3D platformer on the PlayStation 1. I think maybe
right.
That is in, because they've taken the game and they've tweaked it so that you're still doing pretty much the same thing, but it you're doing it as a collective team effort here. So basically, rather than you just playing Spyro, you end up with 4 other unique playable characters in different worlds who have different abilities. So, you get a kangaroo who can jump up high and things, and so the variation is there immediately.
Okay.
Yeah. You still spend the lion's share as Spyro, but or the dragon share, and you get to do it more often with these different characters, and each of their levels are unique and special and fun. Do you know what I mean? And it just immediately adds so much more fun to the world. The mini games are much more fun. You can kind of see where the influences around the world at that time, probably in video games. The fact there's like a skateboarding one, and you've got to collect lots of different. Yeah, exactly. So all these little things where you're like, and there's like a little sort of schmuppy kind of one where you play as Sparks, a dragonfly, and you've got to avoid things. None of them are a master of their genre. Like none of them are Dodonpachi, for example. Do you know what I mean? That is it. But they all work well enough, and I look really well actually. That is in, and all these things that have worked well in Spyro before work well here. Like and obviously in this version as well, looks great. The music's great. It performs really well mechanically, and then you add these other things on top of that, and it just feels like you go, right, here we go. This is the game that's the exciting part now. This is the exciting Spyro. It I'd say it probably looks and sounds as best as it does the entire series in the third game as well. You've got like a really fucking annoying like sort of companion called Hunter, and he kind of falls in love with one of the enemies, and that's a bit of a shitty storyline and stuff. And it's just like those kind of things are a little bit annoying. Spyro seems a bit more in a positive way, a bit more world weary and stuff as well in this one as well. You can just sense that they've all just gone, right, we should probably make a little bit of a different game here, and everything should have a little bit of a different spin on it, and it shouldn't just be the same as 1 and 2. Because whilst 2 had a couple of things built in, playing as Spyro as abilities, like it didn't feel like enough to kind of push it up to that upper echelon. Whereas this one here, it's certainly not perfect. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going for like really high scores here, but something that I'm like, I think that if you were going to go back and just play one of these games out of the 3, and you don't need to play the other 2 to know how to play 3. Like you get all the tutorial stuff in there, and it's all baked in. Like you're fresh in coming to the game. It's like it's a story that you don't need to know about Spyro's lore or anything to be able to play this one. I would say if you're going to go back and play the Reignited Trilogy and you're just looking for a good time, I'd probably skip the first 2 games pretty much. That isn't, maybe play 2, maybe, but I'd just play 3. That isn't, because I feel like
not really a trilogy though, is it?
Yeah, I know. I get that. I get that.
What you got there is a game.
Yeah, and I get that, and that probably sounds really damning on the first. It's not meant to be. It's just I think this one is much. I don't want to say vastly, much more superior to the first 2 games because of what it adds to it. And certainly in this version where everything has been polished and looks good and sounds good and performs really, really well, and you've got all the quality of life and the saving, the right save points and everything. I just think that it's questionable. Kind of like I think they could have done more with the first 2 games and made them do something different. Whereas, and the fact that I'm saying that, whereas the third game, they didn't. I don't think they had to do anything to it to make it as good as it is.
So is it a case of like, if you're looking at the package as a whole, is it a case of the first 2 games drag the third one down, or the third one elevates the others?
Yeah, I think the third one elevates the others.
Right.
Okay. I think I don't want to sort of say, it took it so they could walk so he could fly, like the third game, Year of the Dragon. That is in they probably canter the first 2 games rather than walking. They're not like horrendous or anything. Whereas the third one, again, isn't a soaring eagle having the best time of its life or anything, but it's a very capable 3D platformer and probably the best PlayStation 1 game that I can think that I've played. And I know I've played this remastered version of it, but considering they don't seem to have added anything to it, apart from it looks good and feels good to play. Like I can't imagine that and when I looked back and researched as well, like this was really critically well received, and obviously performed commercially really well at the end of PlayStation 1 lifespan as well. So yeah, totally recommend playing it as a whole. I think, but like I say, I would, go straight to Year of the Dragon if I was anybody out there that's never tried it before, and that's the best Spyro game on the PlayStation 1, definitely.
So scoring it as a whole, I mean, if it was individually, it probably would have been like 6s or something like that for the first couple, and then I don't know, 8, maybe 9 for the other one. So call it a 7.
7's exactly what I had. Well done, you.
Yeah.
Hi, Kyle. Kyle, our guest from our previous podcast. This is the time of why me bullshit happening now. Just walked into the room and he's going to start recording pretty much, in the next podcast. So that's how weird this is. Oh, he's brought a Switch with him. That's impressive. I don't know what's happening. How exciting. But yeah, that 7 out of 10 is exactly what I had for it, really. And it was almost like, I kind of sort of thought I went like 5 for the first game, a 6 for the second game, and an 8, I think, probably for the third game, and then kind of like squared it off in the middle. So yeah, well, don't forget that score, right, man.
Way.
That makes it a very good cluster of video games in our scoring. And it was really cool. Spyro, Kyle, say hello.
Ciao.
Yeah, Spyro. Have you played the Reignited Trilogy?
Yeah, it's pretty up there. It's It's a nice diversion from Crash Bandicoot. Same kind of team in it. You know,
Prefer Crash or Spyro?
Crash.
Crash, yeah. Crash. He's got Tood, hasn't he? Tood? Tood?
Chewed.
Oh, that's what you're saying.
Chewed.
I was going to say chewed.
Yeah.
Like, who chewed him?
Tood.
Yes.
Oh, chewed. Sorry.
Attitude.
Yeah.
I mean, I was with you. I thought that he was getting eaten somewhere.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The thing is, though, but Spyro would beat Crash in a fight, though, wouldn't he? That's the thing.
Certainly, if he brought his friends along.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fair enough. Cool. Right. Okay. Well, that'll do us for this podcast. We're now going to go back and record the previous
Back in
podcast. But thanks very much for listening, guys, and we'll speak to you soon.
Cheers.